At just 17, Quincy has accomplished what many athletes spend years chasing. Making the U.S. Olympic team and claiming gold in the 4x400-meter relay, aided by Vernon Norwood when a stumble threatened to derail him on the world stage. What's next for the youngest male U.S. track Olympian? Surprisingly, it's stepping into the shoes of a coach. Remember 2024? When he was selected as a coach for the Armory? Well, the prodigy is at it again. Quincy Wilson's connection with New York's legendary Armory training scene runs deep. Just last year, he shattered the sophomore class record with a breathtaking 1 minute and 17.36 seconds in the 600m at the 116th Milrose Games, marking the second fastest high school performance ever in the event. But that's not all. Back in January, he had already made waves at the Armory Officials Hall of Fame Invitational, clocking 33.12 seconds to finish second in the 300m. From record-breaking wins to near victories, now the athlete is looking to cement himself as a coach in a thrilling collaboration with the Armory and runner space sprint superstar. Quincy Wilson has announced he's returning as a coach to guide young athletes at the upcoming Fall 2025 camp. Coach Quincy Wilson is back. High voltage sprint sensation Quincy Wilson is locked for the Armory camp. The Post declared the fall camp kicks off on Sunday, November 16, 2025, and aspiring participants can sign up on the Armory's website. Joining Wilson is an all-star lineup of coaches, including 110-meter hurdles world champion Cordell Tinch, Josette Andrews, Robbie Andrews, English Gardner, Vashi Cunningham, Kyle Garland, and many more. This marks the second time the Armory has enlisted Wilson as a coach, the first being in Fall 2024 at the Nike Track and Field Center in Washington Heights. Last year, the athlete inspired young runners to chase their dreams and become the best versions of themselves. You never know where they come from, their background story. But I want them to know there are no limits to what they can do, said Wilson. When you get on the track, clear your mind and just run. It's not just about winning. You're learning a lot of different life skills and mental toughness from this sport. We'll just have to wait and see what Coach Wilson has in store for the young athletes this year. But before that, he has a crucial decision to make. Quincy Wilson is in the doldrums about his next career decision. The youngest U.S. male Olympian recently took to his Instagram handle to share a snapshot with LSU stalwarts Vernon Norwood and Benny Brazel, each flashing an L for Louisiana State University. In the caption, the athlete wrote, "Thank you, Coach Benny and Vernon Norwood, for coming to talk to my family and me about what LSU has to offer. Hashtag Go Tigers, hashtag not committed." So, why were they there in the first place? It's because Wilson is at a pivotal crossroads in his career with offers from Florida, Texas A&M, and Tennessee, while also weighing opportunities at the University of Georgia and Texas Tech. He's chosen to delay turning professional. Instead, he's focusing on sharpening his technique and building the maturity required to excel at the elite level. Though Wilson remains undecided, Norwood clearly has a favorite, commenting, "Go Tigers, Medium dark skin tone emoji. Modifier. As Wilson contemplates the next step in his career, he will also need to embrace his journey as a coach. At just 17 years old, it's clear he's excited to start this new chapter of his life. But how he will perform in the coming year remains to be seen. The morning sun hovered gently above the stadium, casting golden light across the very lanes where history had once been rewritten. The same red track where a teenage Quincy Wilson had stunned the world, breaking records and defying expectations now seemed to shimmer with memory. But this time there was something different about his return. No starting gun, no thunderous applause. Just quiet reflection and a new purpose. For Quincy Wilson, the prodigy who once became a symbol of American track and field's youthful energy, life had come full circle. Years earlier, at this very track, he blazed through the 400 meters with the effortless rhythm of a natural-born champion, capturing the world's attention. That moment had been the start of a whirlwind. Interviews, endorsements, Olympic dreams whispered in every corner. Yet now, as he stepped onto the same surface, he wasn't here to run. He was here to guide the return. The stadium looked the same, yet felt different. The stands were quieter. The banners from old meets faded, but the spirit was alive. Wilson's footsteps echoed across the track, each one stirring memories of youthful adrenaline, the nervous shuffle before the gun, the electrifying acceleration off the curve, the pure joy of crossing the line first. But this visit wasn't about chasing times or reclaiming glory. He was back as a mentor, invited by his former coach to help guide a new generation of athletes preparing for national trials. When he arrived, the young runners looked at him in awe. They'd grown up watching clips of his record-breaking runs, listening to commentators marvel at the kid who'd outrun men twice his age. But now, in his early 20s, Quincy stood not as a competitor, but as an elder statesman in the making, a young veteran shaped by both triumph and turbulence. From prodigy to perspective. Being fast is easy when you love running, Quincy told them during their first meeting, his voice calm but firm. Staying fast when life starts pulling you in different directions. That's the real test. The athletes listened closely. His words carried the weight of experience. Quincy knew firsthand how heavy expectations could feel. After his early success, every race became a performance under a microscope. Every missed final or minor injury drew headlines. The same people who once called him a prodigy began to question whether he could sustain greatness. The pressure had forced him to step back, both to heal and to remember why he ran in the first place. I had to learn that my identity isn't tied to a stopwatch, he explained to the group. The clock tells you how fast you were, but not who you are. That hard-earned wisdom was what he wanted to pass on the mentor's lane. Over the following weeks, Quincy immersed himself in coaching. He analyzed starts, corrected stride patterns, and reminded his athletes that confidence wasn't arrogance. It was trust in your preparation. He would jog alongside them, clapping his hands, urging them to find that rhythm where your mind is. quiet and your legs take over. But even as he taught, he was learning. Watching the raw enthusiasm of these younger runners reignited something inside him. He began to feel that old spark, the heartbeat of competition, the thrill of speed, but now tempered with maturity. One day after practice, a 17-year-old runner approached him shyly. "Coach Wilson," she said, "do you ever miss it? The lights, the crowd, the feeling when you won." Quincy smiled softly. "Every day," he admitted, "but I also learned that sometimes your biggest win is an A medal. It's helping someone else reach the finish line." It was that humility that made his presence special. He wasn't just teaching drills. He was teaching balance. How to dream without losing peace. How to push without breaking. A walk down memory lane. As the final day of the training camp arrived, the organizers held a small ceremony to honor Quincy's contributions to the sport. The young athletes gathered around him, cheering as they played a highlight reel of his historic race on the big screen. The crowd watched the younger version of Quincy explode off the blocks, power through the curve, and sprint toward destiny. Watching it now, he felt both pride and nostalgia, the cheers, the energy, the sense of invincibility. It all came rushing back. But what moved him most wasn't the victory itself. It was how far he'd come since then. After the ceremony, he quietly walked down to the starting line again. The same lane. The same curve, the same smell of the track under the morning air. He crouched down. Not to start a race, but to honor a memory. "This is where I found myself," he whispered. "And now it's where I give back the future he's building." Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Quincy gathered the athletes one last time. He had one final message before leaving. "You all have something special," he said. "But don't chase the next race so hard that you forget to love the one you're in. When I was your age, I thought success meant breaking records. Now I know it means breaking limits, of fear, of doubt, of anything that tells you you're not enough." The group stood in silence, soaking in every word. "Remember," he added with a grin, "I'm not done running either. I just run in a different lane now." The athletes erupted in applause. For them, Quincy wasn't just a name in a record book. He was a living example of resilience, of evolving without losing passion. Legacy beyond laps. In the weeks that followed, his mentorship became a talking point across the track and field world. Commentators noted how Quincy's influence extended beyond performance. He was shaping character. Parents wrote letters to thank him for inspiring their kids. Fellow athletes shared his message of mental strength and grace under pressure. And quietly, somewhere deep inside, Quincy began training again, not for fame or medals, but for himself. A comeback, perhaps not of glory, but of gratitude. When asked later in an interview what this return to the legendary track meant to him, he paused before answering. "It reminded me that history isn't something you leave behind," he said. "It's something you build on. Every lap I ran here taught me who I was becoming. And if I can help Someone else find their lane, then. That's my new race, a full circle moment. As the camera panned across the now empty track, the golden light of evening glowed on the lanes like ribbons of memory. The crowd was gone. The cheers long faded. But something powerful lingered in the air. A sense of purpose reborn. Quincy Wilson had once made history here as a runner. Now he was making it again as a leader, a teacher, and a voice for the next generation. Because legends don't just live in the moments they win. They live in the moments they choose to come back. Not for glory, but to give. And on that legendary track, Quincy Wilson had found not just where his story began, but where it would continue to inspire, one stride at a time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time.